Hey guys, Lucas Green here, and I am back. This time, it's movie reviews, and I just got back from the cinema yesterday, and I saw The Incredibles 2. So this will be my first review on this channel, hence movies and all that. So this will be a good one to start, mind you. I would prefer to do the first one, but whatever, you know. So, spoilers alert for, The Incredibles 2 when we get to the spoiler section. But let's go over what's going on in this movie. Well, it takes place right after the events of the first one, when the "Behold the Underminer" and all that are going on. So that's where the film takes place. And what happens is that as they're fighting the Underminer, we see two things. One of them is Violet's relationship with her new friend, fellow boyfriend, whatever you call him, Tony Ridinger. And he discovers who she is, and yeah. But Rick Deckers there to sort the mess out in the introduction. Then there's also the what is it? It was, as they're fighting the Underminer, Bob at some point goes inside and he faces them, and he says, "Underminer, we meet again." And then I'm like, "We meet again? What are you talking about? You just if we're going off this movie's timeline, you faced him." I know what he's trying to say. He's basically saying to the viewers, like, "Hey, Underminer, it's nice to see you again." But if you're the character himself, you just saw him last movie like a few seconds ago, and you're like, "We meet again." So I mean, it doesn't really flow right. But anyway, with a few little things aside, they defeat the Underminer, but not on the contents of, as they they beat the Underminer, but they do cause damage to like a building, and they get arrested or taken in by the authorities. But Rick Decker is there to sort of clear the situation up, and he relocates the family as he does. Mind you, he's getting sick and tired of doing it, so I can't really blame him. Anyway, that's how the movie starts. Kind of a mixed message tone. However, there was one character in the Underminer chase, or fight, whatever you want to call it, besides Frozen, who also was there, and he had a better role this time around, as you want to see his powers more. But the other character I was actually mentioning was Winston Devers. He is the CEO or billionaire guy of DevTech, and he basically finds Frozone as he's trying to hide away from the government, and he says, like, "Hey," basically one of his chauffeur comes up to him and gives him a card saying, "Hey, tell your friends come to DevTech and hear my boss's hands to help you guys out." So, that's what's set up. Anyway, so we go back to the family and we see them in like a motel. They bring up Tony again and says, when you, that's how, if there's I said earlier on there was an intro scene about, like, Tony was there and all that. Well, they bring that up again, and so, yeah, that's established. And then they sit down to dinner, and they try to talk about the elephant in the room, as they put it. But nobody unfortunately, I do like the conversation that they're having. Everyone's trying to avoid this topic, and the mom and Violet, they want to just get it out of their system and just say what needs to be said. So they explain how it's going on and all that, and after dinner they go down, and I think it's at some point, it's around the pool scene where the kids are asleep and all that. Yeah, around the kids are asleep. They go to the pool to have another talk in private, and then Frozone shows up, and he says that, "Hey, while you were getting taken in by the authorities, I found this guy who works for this discovery guy called Winston Devers, and he wants us to come and meet him. So we win, and yeah, he's got his suit underneath there, his super suit underneath. So he's ready to go and see him. And the parents agree, and they put on their old classic super suits from the golden ages of Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, and they go to DevTech, leaving the kids in charge. And the kids actually are kind of a bit iffy because they want to be involved in the superhero family stuff too. However, their parents say they are just kids, and we should like get you into the life. So they go to DevTech, and we meet Winston Devers, and he's actually more, he is right in your face. He's basically so happy to see the supers, and he explains his backstory about how he had his parents, and they were rich dudes like him, of course, because he passed the fortune down, and they were good friends of the supers until he didn't, but they didn't know about, his parents didn't know about the government sued the supers and all that, so the father of Winston thinks that he can call the supers up, but no, as someone's trying to break into their house. But no, the supers not answering because, you know, the government banned the supers. And then in comes the guy with a gun, and yeah. The father dies, however the mom doesn't, she dies of a broken heart because of the dad's death. And yeah, the brother becomes the CEO of DevTech with the sister. I'm guessing does that mean Winston is the big brother because he's the oldest and he gets the fortune? I'm guessing that's how it works. Or maybe the sister just didn't care and take it. Anyway, battle aside, so that's why Winston wants the supers back, because he feels like it would be better to have them around. Which it kind of was at the end of the first movie, because we saw how the government handled the situation. Anyway, so we're introduced to the next character in this movie called, who I actually referenced in the flashback, his sister called Evelyn Dever. She's the designer of the super suits. Not their super suits. And that's someone else. Was it called Gabaki or something? Something like that. And that makes Edna jealous later on. So yeah, but she does stuff to the company that helps out. She operates. Winston operates it. She helps out with it, like a secretary, I guess. Okay. So I do like how her design is, though. I will admit that there are some personal things I do like about how she's designed, and how she just sits around and on top of desks with her legs crossed and all that stuff. It's kind of relaxing and like chill. It's really funny, I find. Anyway, that beside, so they explained that your suits, have tiny little cameras and they can see all what's going on, because the only thing the government sees is all the chaos you do from the news reports. So if we put in secret cameras, they'll see the heroic acts you're doing, and then they'll want to bring back the supers, hopefully. So they Winston chooses Elastigirl to be the main center of focus because Bob's had a kind of a bad running before he went to go back into the superhero with the whole fire trying to be a vigilante stuff. He kind of is a bit of an off-topic guy. He's a little loose cannon, so they think it's better to go with Elastigirl, who has much more of a clean slate as a starting point. So, meanwhile, Bob Parr is going to be the stay-at-home dad and look after the kids and help Violet with her relationship, Dash with his homework, and he discovers Jack has powers, so that's pretty cool. And he has more powers than ever before with multiplying his laser beams. He's got quite there's so many powers. Moving along though from that topic, while that's going on basically, the family drama and all that, we cut back to Elastigirl, and actually that reminds me, Winston does give them a new house because he's a rich guy and he's got like several different houses he can give them, so he gives them one of them, and he also gives Elastigirl a new electronic cycle, which is pretty cool. It can actually split apart, and because Elastigirl is elastic, and she can fuse apart to it, and it does play out in a later on action sequence, which you'll see. Winston Endeavor tells her of this next mission, which is the train sequence. I think that's probably where I'm at. Yeah, that's probably the next thing that happens. I'm trying to remember the movie because it was just yesterday. So let's just go straight to the train sequence. I think that happens. Yeah, it does happen around that time. So we'll go for the train sequence. The train sequence is where Elastigirl gets a great train sequence where she's there's this new train, right, and it shows up, but then suddenly it goes in reverse, and Elastigirl has to either it's in reverse or it's like one of those double-sided trains, like a bullet train. It looks like. Anyway, Elastigirl goes off, jumping from building to building on her motorcycle, which is pretty cool because of how elastic she is. Especially when she was in the tunnel, and how she was able to, like, how do I put this? She's like, she splits her, she has her body stretched out, where the front wheels on one side, and the other side, on the other long back wheels on the other side. It's kind of cool, I wasn't expecting that. And she jumps on, and she manages to stop the train. So she goes inside to see what's going on, and then she realizes that, oh, this guy was hypnotized. And then there's a message about the new villain called the Screenslaver. Who? So, moving along from that, we go back to Bob's life. Now, I forget where we're at in the movie at this point, but I'm going to go with maybe Violet's. I know Violet's around ticked off at this point, because she figures out what her dad did to Tony, because he doesn't remember her at all, because he erased memories. So Tony tries to Bob tries to contact Dick to, like, help me out with this, but then again, Bob just does it himself. I guess all that Bob was asking for from Dick was, Dick is the agent who hides him. He was asking that, give me some information on this kid so I know how to sort of ease the situation. And Dick tells him that he works at a restaurant, so they go to the restaurant and they do comedy gold there, how they react comedy from how you should see a person like this. Violet, when she sees Tony, she actually is drinking and she spits it up from her nose, which is perfect how realistically that would happen in a real life situation. So, other than that, there is another good sequence, which is, I think Helen is more or less trying to piece together who the Screenslaver is, but she's kind of still concentrating. She is actually focused on this. Her next interaction with the Screenslaver comes when she gets a press conference or a meeting or something like that, and she discovers that the entire TV station is under mind control, and this ambassador who's meant to try and help make the series positive again because of all these good reports and all that, she's being taken down by the Screenslaver because he's in this helicopter and all that. Like, the pilots have all been mind controlled, and the ambassador's in danger, so she has to leave the TV station, goes up to the top and gets to the ambassador. She does save him, of course. After that, in her next TV press conference, she's now planned ahead for him, and she's waiting on the rails of the TV station for a broadcast from Screenslaver, which he does, and look, I'm surprised he doesn't end the call like I would. If I was the villain, I wouldn't make it a long call, otherwise that would happen, someone would trace your signal. So, then again, maybe the villain wants to be, but that's getting on to later stuff. So, he talks long enough for Elastigirl to find his location, and it's very creepy, you're like on the edge of your seat, what's going on. She eventually finds him, or he finds her, and he tries to blind her with his hypnotism spell. And then they have a little bit of a fight. Then eventually Screenslaver makes a bolt for it. And she eventually uses her elastic powers to slickly catch up with him. So, she catches him, and it turns out to be this guy that you don't really know who it is. It's just this blonde guy. And I thought, wow, that was quicker than I thought. But I thought, oh, there's got to be more to it than that. But anyway, he's arrested. Screenslaver is arrested and taken into the authorities. And everyone throws a party that, hey, the first big villain is, okay, yeah. Well, the Underminer was somewhat caught, I suppose, yeah. This is the first, or the second biggest villain to be caught. So, maybe we should bring the Super back in, and that's a good sign, you know? Around this time, we'll go back to the family drama. Bob discovers about the powers and all that. He decides to go to Edna for advice. Like, make a new super suit for the child. And, first protests, like, nah, I don't want it. And then she realizes that the baby has so many powers. One of them that can mimic her own appearance. She says, damn right, yeah, I'll take this baby off your hands and I'll have fun with it and all that. So, yeah, Bob leaves the baby there, and it does relieve some of his stress, and he's able for him to focus on the other kids. And eventually he does actually sort of catch up with the kids, and he's able to, he does, like I said before, he made effort with Violet. He does help Dash with his homework, and he actually does get better at it. I like the fact that he is ticked off about how homework has changed now, instead of just, it's a simple math equation, but now it's become more detailed to books, and you have to do it by the book. I know how that feels. I was horrible at math, still am actually. But anyway, with that aside, they, they celebrate the victory of Screenslaver's defeat, and then, this is where we get into, as you can tell, this has been like I said from the very beginning, this is a spoiler review, so that will also be in the title, just so you know. But anyway, getting onto the party, they explain how it was so easy that Screenslaver was taken down, and then it all comes together like what if he wanted to be caught? Because as they're watching the footage from her camera, there's actually, in the background of the fight, there is a actual image of the same image that's on the screen. So then she puts together, oh, Screenslaver knew I was watching him, so how could that be? And then you're like, I don't know, it's like, what's going on here? Then she slowly puts it together, like, what if he wanted to be captured? Then that would mean that there should be well, then she's like, then she thinks together, what if the person who was Screenslaver was being mind controlled? What if he actually wasn't him? So she goes into the mask and looks for it, and then suddenly, boom, Evelyn puts it on her face. Evelyn Dever is the villain. Evelyn Dever, she's the villain. There are a few subtle hints at her being the villain. Like her colors are black and white, and what colors are the Screenslaver's mind control thing? Black and white. Winston Dever does have the body type, as I was first seeing Screenslaver. Like, he could easily be the villain, but I didn't want Disney to do that. It would have been way too easy with the money. But no, Winston Dever is not the villain. He has no idea what's going on at all, apparently. Even though it's perfect to set him up as the villain because he has the perfect body type and he has the organization company. But the sister also has access to that technology as well, and her motivation is to, this is kind of awkward to say, but she doesn't want the supers to exist. Well, one, because she's a villain, but two, because that she feels that they're a threat, and that her brother was too reliant on them, and that even her parents were too reliant on the supers. So, it's kind of an off understanding, because even if basic right now in the movie, the government is against superheroes. So all you have to do is, there is no real reason to do this super villain stuff, because what you're doing is you're basically painting this image like, hey, superheroes are a good thing because you're the villain who's doing all this stuff. So there is a reason to bring the supers back now. Here's what you should have done. Maybe not be the supervillain and try and be a... If you're going to do this, at least try and hide the fact that you're the villain or something. Because, you know, there's no reason for you to be the bad guy, because if you are the bad guy, you're just basically making it easier for the superheroes to become legal to the government again. Anyway, that's her plan. However, she does still care about her brother. That's something to know. She's not totally beyond irredeemable evil person. She does have some relatable stuff. Anyway, Evelyn looks up Elastigirl, and now she has her under mind control. She tricks Bob, but Bob doesn't know she's the bad guy. So Bob goes and to help rescue her, because Evelyn told him to get over here. Meanwhile, you know, the kids are left home. Oh, I almost forgot something, like, before she figures out that Evelyn is the villain, there is a scene where, like, we're introduced to all these heroes that are brought out of hiding, because, like, of what Elastigirl did with the train sequence and the ambassador stuff. So, that's a nice thing. There's Void. Oh, I'm not going to go over them all. I'm just trying to go over the main ones I can remember. Void has, like, teleportation portals that can open up. One of them is, like, this Force guy who ends with a K on his outfit. I don't know what his name is, but he basically has the Force abilities, like cracking. I don't know what he's called. However, he explains that when he does something, he can't undo it. I think one more I'll mention is Brick. He's basically a big, strong guy. Basically, another Mr. Incredible, only a bit more muscular than him, like a Broly type body size. Anyway, that's enough of those side characters. So, yeah. Elastigirl, she's mind controlled, and Bob goes to rescue her, breaks free of the mind control. Meanwhile, the kids are being attacked by the other supers I just mentioned, because they're also mind controlled. And as they're escaping, they almost forgot, something along in the movie was the Incredimobile. That turns out it wasn't destroyed, it was actually in the hands of this car owner. Bob, having the remote of the car, gets it back, and then the kids get their hands on it, and then they escape in the Incredimobile. Unfortunately, Frozen is captured, and that's sad, so he's under mind control too. Meanwhile, Mr. Incredible tries to get his wife back. Unfortunately, he fails, and he's under mind control too. So it's all left up to the kids to save the grown-ups and all that. So next is this big boat sequence. Winston basically says, hey, the ambassadors have signed it and all that, so we have the documents to make superheroes legal again. And then, you know, so Evelyn goes through for her plan and moves on to phase 2 or whatever. Takes the boat, and she's planning to have it crash, I think, into the city or something. Or to try and kill the supers, I guess. Because, well, like, these are, like, all the supers that are around, I suppose. That's what I'm guessing she's up to. So, because I wasn't sure at the time of the movie what was going on here, but that's what I'm guessing was on there. So anyway, she tries to take control of the boat and all that with her mind control supers. The kids rescue the parents. First, the mom gets on mind control. She rescues Frozone. Then Frozone and Helen rescue the Mr. Incredible, and the kids explain what happened. The mom's happy that they came back for him. Of course they will. They're their parents. And they go around beating up the other mind control supers. And they get nearly all of them, apart from the guy who has, like, these force powers. Mr. Incredible takes care of him. Evelyn makes her escape with her brother, and that's something I like. I like the fact she does take her brother. She's not going to be a selfish douche and leave him here. She does still care about him, even though she calls him a child behind his back. But, you know, even though Winston has no idea what's going on, and he figures that, hey, you're crazy, I'm getting out of here. And he literally tries to jump out of the plane. Like, I don't care if you're my sister, I'm getting out of here, you're crazy. He gets out of there safely, lucky enough. Then all of the superheroes get aboard the plane. And they, well, not all the superheroes, just Elastigirl. She goes and fights Evelyn, and Evelyn tries to stop her by going up to the atmosphere and putting on a gas mask. However, luckily she's able to get enough inner strength and toss her out the window. And they bring the plane down, and after with some help from Void, they land the plane, get the villain, and pretty much everything's wrapped up. Winston says it doesn't matter if she's behind bars, but she can. Well, she's not like. He does wish better of her, but he's basically like, she does deserve what she get. I think they kept the villain alive for this one is because they didn't want to have like another villain killed off. Then they go to the court, and the superheroes are legal again. So yep, they come out fighting, and they've got this new batch of superhero friends now. I mean, all of the supers from the old movies were killed off, apart from the Incredibles and Frozone. But there are all these new superheroes they can hang out with, so they could be cool characters to have. Overall, Incredibles 2, and of course, I'll just wrap how it ends. Violet goes on her cinema date with Tony again. They start over their relationship. However, they see some cops driving down the street, and they're all looking at each other and pose, like, get the popcorn and I'll be right back. And then, they drive off, and that's the end of The Incredibles 2. Overall, this movie is not that bad. It's not that bad at all. I think it's pretty damn good. It's great, actually. However, I did check the running time of this movie. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm not sure if that's including ending credits, but 2 hours. It felt like, boom. It didn't feel like 2 hours in that cinema. It felt like an hour and a half. At least. I don't know how long, but it just went like so flew by. So, how is it? Compared to, I know something I want to bring up right now real quick is Helen's voice from, if you've seen Incredibles 1 recently, which I recommend doing, and you've seen this movie right after, you'll notice a distinction in her voice. It's probably because the actress has gotten older, that's what I'm guessing. But all the other characters are still the same, apart from Dash, who has his voice changed because the actor who played him couldn't do it anymore because he's grown up. But Dash's voice is still fine. It's pretty much Han. It's right on the money. The other one who isn't really on the money, but it is still right on the money. It's just like the actress has gotten older for Helen, so it's kind of more. But you can still say it's pretty damn perfect. But like I said, is this movie as good as the first one? I would personally, I would have to say no, it's not as good as the first one. That's just me personally, guys. No, hey, please. I mean, everyone has their own opinions, but I felt like the first one had more oomph to it. It had more weight. Everyone's message seemed to link into each other. Bob's message of, like, Bob wants to be a superhero. The mother wants to have a good husband relationship, and they bounce off really nicely in the end. The kids have the Violet wants to be sheltered, but then she realizes that she can use her powers, and after all, and she gains more confident. Dash has an arc about him, going out and trying to rein in his powers, and it all comes together with the superhero family. So each of the characters goes through an arc. This one, it does add Jack in the mix, and it is trying really hard, but the villain is kind of weak compared to Syndrome. The family drama is actually toned down a bit more. There isn't a bit more of the adult jokes and all that, which I understand because of Disney and all that, but they were able to slip some jokes in there that were in the first one, like where an adult joke would be where Mr. Incredible's trying to go for work and then Elastigirl takes him back inside, and that's basically an adult joke for going back to bedtime and all that. So there were a few more. I would like a bit more of the relatable family drama, I'm guessing. However, some things I will like. I like that Mrs. Incredible is able to get the spotlight now a bit more, because Bob did get it in the first one. I am happy that Disney or Brad Bird or whoever the idea was to decide not to make Winston the villain. But again, the plot is kind of predictable, because once you know that it's not Winston, it's kind of obvious. Especially when you give them a backstory, you give them motivation, and then especially it's even more obvious when you let them interact with the hero, in this case Helen, on philosophical debates about what is the right thing to do. Because that's enough information for you to put it all together, and by the time you do put it all together, slap on the face. When it comes to appearance, though, I will say Screenslaver is a better looking villain. But Syndrome is more, you can't beat him when it comes to his accomplishments. He's the one who basically wiped out nearly all of the supers. Pretty with one big simple plan. It's like this one plan on repeat with the Omnidroid, and then it was actually a well thought out plan. It was like driving through half of the movie. Whereas this one's plan, it is in the movie, but it's quickly rallied up pretty quickly. So the villain's kind of weak. There are a few little hiccups here and there. It's not as epic as the first one is, but it's still a very great movie. But this movie, when you watch it, it just makes you feel like now you want a trilogy, because the first movie could stand on its own just fine. It's a big epic and a great thing. But now you've got a sequel, you kind of have like this need to make a trilogy, because it feels like first one is about superheroes are restricted and caught off. Second one is about them getting back the spotlight. The third one should be the conclusion to that. So it does feel like there should be a trilogy for that kind of stuff. But overall, I will say The Incredibles 2 is a great movie. And with that being said, guys, I will say that I'll give it a rating of... what shall we rate this movie? Alright. Well, let's say The Incredibles is The Incredibles isn't perfect. I'll give The Incredibles 1. I'm not gonna give it a score, but I will say it to my head. This one... 7 and a fourth? No. I'm not going to go 7.5, 7.25 at least. Like 1/4 added onto the 7. So that's my score for The Incredibles 2. Still a great movie, Leave a like if you enjoyed this. This is as you can tell, once again, this is a full story spoiler review on this movie. Just got back from the cinema last night. It was amazing. It was a good worth going, and I walked all the way home, 2 hours, and it felt like, oh my god. Like, I do really like this movie. It's pretty awesome. So leave a like, share, subscribe. Let me know what movies you want me to do. I might do the first Incredibles movie next. It all depends, really. We'll see. Leave a like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, guys. Peace.